Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's Dealer On webinar, where an expert from Google is going to discuss how to market fixed ops online. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by Dealer On. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Dealer On, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, and we're best known for our SEO, our customer service, and our award-winning website designs, including the newly launched Chameleon Responsive website platform. And we're so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that DealerOn is still the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So does your website company guarantee you a 50% lift in leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at dealeron.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're so very pleased to have Peter Leto as our presenter today. Peter Leto is an automotive industry strategist on the Google Automotive Dealer Jumpstart team. He's responsible for providing automotive partners with scalable business solutions to further develop their regional and local advertising strategies. Growing up in the Motor City, Peter started his career in TV ad sales with Turner Broadcasting, assisting the Detroit Three with national advertising programs. In 2008, he joined Google as an account manager in the Chicago B2B vertical, working with Fortune 500 companies primarily across the manufacturing and energy sectors. After 3 years, he returned to Detroit in his current role in automotive. Peter graduated from the University of Michigan with a degree in political science and communications and currently resides in Birmingham, Michigan. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, we'll respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is also going to be emailed to you later today for your reference. And please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And I also want to let you know that DealerOn is excited to announce their involvement at the upcoming Dealer Think Tank in Washington, D.C. on August 14th. That's next Thursday. The Dealer Think Tank is spearheaded by a handful of dynamic subject matter experts who provide strategies, discuss ideas, challenge ideology, and create solutions for real-world problems facing the automotive industry. And the think tanks, they've been garnering tremendous praise for their intensely informative, fun-filled education workshops, so you don't want to miss it. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, well, guess what? DealerOn is here to help. We have an exclusive discount code that's going to score you 50% off of the ticket price. Just use that discount code on the screen when you register. And if you message me directly during this webinar, you might be the one who gets into the Dealer Think Tank for free. That's right. I'm going to give away one free ticket immediately during this webinar. So write to me. Let me know that you can absolutely positively make it to Washington, D.C. on August 14th. That's next Thursday. And that free ticket, that's yours. And for more information, go to dealerthinktank.com. And we have great news for all you attendees out there. Our good friends at Google, they're giving away a free Chromecast device to 2 of you lucky webinar attendees today. Have you heard about Chromecast? Well, Chromecast is the easiest way to enjoy online video and music on your TV. Plug it into any HD TV and control it with your existing smartphone, tablet, or laptop. This current latest technology release from Google, it's sold out worldwide within 2 hours of its debut. All you have to do is stick around for the quiz at the end of the presentation. Be the first one to write in the correct response, and you could be walking away with this amazing prize today. And if that wasn't enough, also at the conclusion of this webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out, because we're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. We're going to have some fun today, so let's get started. Let's listen as an expert from Google discusses how to market fixed ops online. Peter Leto, it's always a great day when you're on my show. How are you?
Eliana, thank you so much, and it's great to be back with you guys. Certainly appreciate the invitation, as always, to join your webinars, and thank you for everyone who's attending today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to discuss how we can market fixed opportunities at the dealership.
Yeah, this is
I have to say,
topic.
this topic is a hot topic. You're absolutely right, and I have to say this is a topic I'm personally excited to be discussing because For those of you who we've had the privilege of interacting with either on a dealer on webinar before or on the road, you've seen from Google that we've really always focused on the sales side of the house. How are auto shoppers leveraging the web to purchase new vehicles? What research are they conducting? Which sites are most instrumental? And while all that's great and definitely a very important profit center for you at the dealership as well as for the OEMs, we haven't really dug into the fixed ops side as much. And so I'm really excited today that we are mining our data, and what you'll see from us today is a study that's only focused on parts and service, and we will continue to provide rich insights as we move forward in this space on this topic, as we understand it is a very important profit center for your dealerships, and ultimately, in many cases, what keeps the lights on. So with that in mind, we are going to, our mission at Google as we conducted this research process is to really better understand how digital drives automotive parts and service research and purchases. The question that we asked ourselves is, are customers behaving in the same manner as they do with the new car side and the sales side? Are they still leveraging the web to research parts and service? Or do they already have their minds made up or a preconceived notion of where they're going to go to service their vehicles? And ultimately, that was the question that we wanted to answer. And so in order to answer this question, we partnered with Millward Brown Digital, who essentially was able to gain insights from over 1,200 actual parts and service customers. These are people who purchase parts or schedule to purchase services. And ultimately, from this sample size, the statistically significant sample size, Millward Brown was really able to do two things ultimately. Number one, they were able to follow and track a customer's behavior across the web, which includes which websites and platforms they interacted with, as well as what type of actions they took online. And then beyond that, they were able to conduct a survey with all 1,200 plus participants to understand and try to get in the mindsets of these customers as to why they took the actions they had. So again, the important thing to remember here is that these are actual parts and service customers, and we not only have clickstream data, actual behavioral data of how they operated online, but also have survey data as well, and you'll see that information throughout the presentation. Our objectives today, our agenda is as follows. We're going to cover 3 important points before opening it up to Q&A. First, we're going to understand how today's drivers are leveraging digital for parts and service related information. Next, we're going to assess the parts and service opportunity for your dealerships, doing our best to paint a picture of what this opportunity looks like today. And we're going to share with you who is winning in this space. And then finally, we're going to outline 3 strategies for successfully reaching dealers online before, again, going into our Q&A session. So before we begin, I'd like to turn things back over to Eliana for our first poll question.
Thank you so much, Peter. All right, audience, we're getting started early here. We need your help on this poll question. Please look at your screen and vote. What media platforms are you currently using to market your parts and service at your dealership? Please select all the answers that apply. This is what we want to know. Are you using traditional media, TV, radio, newspaper, that kind of stuff? Are you doing direct mail? Are you using the internet in any form, SEM, display or banner, online videos, social, etc.? Are you using something else entirely, or is it the last option, that you're not marketing your fixed ops at all at this time? You're not marketing your parts or your service. Whatever the answer is, hey, we want to know. Once we get a majority of those votes in, we'll close the poll and we'll share the results, and then you'll know what everyone else is doing too, all right? So audience, thank you so much for all the stuff. All the votes are coming in so fast. Peter, you're going to be very pleased with this, all right? I'm already excited about it. All right, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. Okay, great. Yep, we're going to get to this poll. Let's finish up this poll question right now. Audience, thank you so much. Almost everyone has voted. Boy, oh boy, we really appreciate it, and I love that you guys are getting involved. We only have one more poll question today, so I hope you'll get just as involved with the second poll question as well. Peter, if you're ready, we're going to close this poll and share the results. All right, so here we go. 48% of today's audience, so nearly half of you, are using traditional media. So you are on TV, radio, newspaper, or some combination of that. 78% of you are using direct mail. Now the majority, almost everyone, 86% say yes, of course, they are on the internet. They're doing something on the internet, whether it's video or social or display or something. 16% of today's audience said that they're doing something else that's not even listed here. And 2% of today's audience admit that they are not currently marketing their parts and service at this time. Peter, what do you think about that? We got 86% who said they're doing stuff on the internet. That's awesome, right?
That is fantastic, and as usual, I think this, the audience for the Dealer on webinars are always leading the way, so that is fantastic. I'm happy to see, that percentage, and I'm hoping that today, as we go through the presentation, you will not only gain some insights into potentially some marketing objectives you might not be doing online, but if nothing else, you'll take away some of the importance of the web in this research process to further solidify why you're making some of the decisions you may be making, or provide you with further ammunition if you are not currently marketing online, which, if I'm correct here, it sounds like about 18 or 2% are not, and 16% are doing something other, which may be something online, but might not be as well. So
right.
We're really excited about those results, though. Good to hear.
Love it. All right, keep going, Peter.
All right, perfect. Well, we're going to dive in and get right into it. We're going to talk today first about how today's drivers are leveraging digital for parts and service related information. And again, in this section, we're really going to focus on, drawing out whether customers are in fact researching online. We know from a sales side of the house that 90% of auto shoppers will research before they buy and leverage the web to do that research. And when we look at the parts and service side of the house, we're not too much far behind that number for the sales side. In fixed ops today, 7 in 10 drivers will research online before they purchase, regardless of where they buy. And I think that regardless of where they buy is important, because as we think about this space and we compare it to the sales side of the house, as you all know, on the sales side of the house, we're not buying cars online today. We might be pricing cars, we might be researching cars, but we're not physically buying the vehicles. But on the parts and service side of the house, this is a different story. And as you can see from the slide here, we're looking at 4 different buckets of drivers who are not only using the web for research, but also some of which are purchasing. Today, 39% of shoppers will research online, so they conduct their zero moment of truth, if you will, but will then go into a store or a dealership to purchase. 30% are actually researching and purchasing online, purchasing being parts or also paying for services online. 25% will research and purchase offline to this day, and 6% are the people who are doing no research at all. They recognize the need and they immediately go into a store or call a dealership as they're on the side of the road. I think there's a couple of surprising things here. First of all, 6% of people, only 6% of people, are doing absolutely no research at all. And these are again the people on the side of the road calling in or on a whim coming to the dealership or a third party. But the fact that 69% of these people, close to 70%, are researching, with 30% actually purchasing online, really begs the question. For those of you who are marketing online, 86% of you, I believe, if my numbers were correct, how many of you are offering the ability to order parts online? How many of you are able to schedule appointments online, or better yet, allowing your customers to pay for service online? So think about that capacity as we continue to see growth in this area. Furthermore, as we see people researching more and more online, we want to point out the types of resources that they're leveraging in this process and the influence that it's having. And so as you can see on the screen, we have 3 different categories of interactions, if you will. In green is online interactions, in blue is in-person interactions, and in yellow is offline interactions. If you don't mind, let's work backward on the slide and first look at the offline interactions. For those of you participating in traditional media, from our study with Millward Brown, these were the resources that users considered most influential in their shopping process. Television was ranked highest at 39%, followed by direct mail at 35%, and brochures in the actual store, whether that's your dealership or a third-party service center. Beyond that, of course, we have newspaper, magazines, and radio. Interestingly enough, as you look at the percentages, you can see how those rank against in-person in blue and obviously online resources in green. And you can see that offline in terms of influence tends to be middle of the road, if you will, with many of the online resources or below. When we talk about in-person, just like the sales side of the house, of course, customers find their experience at your dealerships and at third-party rooftops to be very influential in the process, as influential as most of the online resources, and in some cases more, particularly a salesperson at the store, and referrals from family, friends, and colleagues are critically important in the process, as well as talking with service technicians. When we get to the online world, it's really interesting to notice a couple of things. First, search engines are in fact the #1 research tool and most influential research tool leveraged by customers today, more so than any other resource that's listed on the screen. Beyond that, though, we get into general retail websites. These are the Walmarts of the world, the Sears of the world, automotive parts and accessory sites, AutoZones, O'Reilly's, vehicle brand websites from the OEM, general automotive sites, and so forth down the road. You can see that all of these sites are ranking slightly above the vehicle dealership website at 41%. This is obviously a point of improvement for us in general. How can we break through against some of these third-party sites who are advertising maybe more aggressively or on behalf of multiple different service centers? And that's something that we'll talk about in the rest of our presentation. We want the dealerships to continue to gain influence in this space, and the more, obviously, dealerships in general put parts and service online, which doesn't sound like it's a problem for this audience, but in general it is, this is an opportunity for us to capture more of this demand. Today, almost 90% of clicks for parts and service-related terms, people coming to Google.com and typing in parts and service-related terms, are actually going to third-party centers. So there is a huge opportunity for us to really win in this space. I do want to point out video sharing websites are growing in importance as well. Almost 40% of shoppers are leveraging video services online to educate themselves. And we will spend a great deal of time with that today. I will tell you that video plays a really significant role, particularly with parts and service. If you guys are online right now and you go to Google and you type in, how to change your oil or replace brake pads, most of the time in the search engine optimization results, you will start to see video populating there. Customers are really gravitating towards video in the parts and service space. Let's get back to search for a second, because as you know, search is a very low-hanging fruit. And let's talk about how people are searching, because our study with Millward Brown found really two important points. First, when you talk about search terms, there's really two ways you can bucket these keywords. One of those buckets is what we would refer to as category terms. These are terms where people aren't using branded names at all. They're typing in oil change, air filter replacement, brake pads, things of that nature. The other types of terms that we're looking at are what we would consider branded terms. These are people who are coming to Google.com and typing in your dealership name, Terry Toyota, for example, or other things like Jiffy Lube, Midas, Quick Lanes. These are a branded term. When you look at how customers are shopping, we see that 39% of these actual purchasers shop exclusively on category terms, meaning they never considered a specific brand, they were completely open to influence, and they just typed in a generic category term into the search box to get results. On the flip side, we saw that 18% of customers exclusively typed in branded terms, not using category terms at all, with 43% of this audience doing both, using branded and category terms throughout their path to purchase. What does this mean? It's interesting to see the percentage breakout. It's interesting to see that more people are searching on just category terms than branded terms. Maybe they're more open to influence. But what does this really mean about our customers? We took this a step further and were able to find out the differences that we see between prospective customers. These are customers who've never been to your dealerships, versus existing customers, customers who have indicated they were previously at this place of business or at your dealerships. And when we break this up across brand and category, we found something interesting. First of all, to make sure we're on the same page, prospective customers are in green and existing customers are the gray people you see on the slide. On branded terms, 30% of the people who were typing in branded terms were prospective customers, were customers who were brand new to your dealerships and never have visited your dealerships. 70% of customers searching on branded terms were already existing customers, have already visited the stores that they purchased from. What does this mean for our businesses? When we run on branded terms, it's a great retention strategy for us for the most part. Only 30% of those people searching on this will be new customers. But it's our way of running on these terms and making sure our ads show up to ensure that we're retaining customers and not giving them the opportunity to flirt with other companies, third-party retail stores, third-party service centers, other dealerships. So it's very much, or more so, a defensive retention strategy. When we look at category terms, we see a drastic difference. Today, 90% of people searching on category terms are actually new customers. They have not been to your dealership before, with only 10% of these customers searching in this way and coming back to your dealership because they visited before. So the point we're making with category terms is that this can really be leveraged to extend your user base and reach new customers who haven't previously considered you. So I challenge you to think about the role that these terms can play at your search area, at your dealership and in your service centers. If you are looking to retain more customers and get some of those customers who have bought from you to come back to your dealership, branded terms can be highly influential. If you feel like you're retaining these customers very well, it's a great opportunity for you to expand into category terms. With that in mind, we want to also talk about a distinction that customers are making between third-party service centers and your dealerships. And this might be news to this might not be news to you, but there are clear distinctions between dealerships and third-party service centers. And we wanted to point them out in the study so that we're aware of them and can use those to our advantage. For the most part, when you look at, in this graph, first I should say that dealerships are in blue and third-party service centers are in green. When we look at a couple categories, positive past experiences at the top of the page, we see a slight advantage for third parties over dealerships. And at the very bottom of the graph, reputable brand names, we see a slight advantage for service centers over dealership names. But frankly, there's not a drastic difference compared to the other three categories on the page. When we look at the other three categories on the page, their knowledge of my service, of my vehicle, price and affordability, and warranty, we see dramatic differences between the perception of dealerships and the perceptions of third-party service centers. The good news here is two out of these three categories, the dealership wins. The bad news is one of those categories is price and affordability, and as you can see here, the service centers, 32% of customers said, you know, the third-party service centers are winning in this space of price and affordability compared to 13% for the dealerships. And that's something that we'll have to combat in other ways. The good news here, though, is you are seen at the dealership, and rightfully so, as the expert in knowledge about the vehicle. You are an extension of the OEM, and as a result of your relationships there, and your certified technicians, of all the value that you can provide to customers, they do recognize that you are the best resource and the expert for their particular vehicles. Additionally, they understand that you are the expert in warranty and that you have the ability to help them understand what is covered under the warranty and what is not, with a lot of the programs that you offer to customers and sign them up for, either offered through the OEM or through upsells you do at point of sale. I challenge you to think about this. I know that price can be tough to compete against when you have your competitors and third-party rooftops advertising $9.99 and $14.99 oil changes, and you can't compete in that manner. I challenge you to think about your creative messaging and educating shoppers on the benefits of your dealership from a knowledge of the vehicle perspective or expertise, and also in warranty. How many shoppers are going to third-party centers paying for services that would be otherwise covered if they came directly to your dealership? Place that doubt in their mind or suggest those components to them. With that in mind, I'd like to turn things back over to Eliana for our second poll question before we move on to our next section. Eliana?
Thank you so much, Peter. All right, audience, your second and final poll question is up on the screen now. And here it is. So of those of you that are marketing their parts and service online, You're the ones we want to hear from. What platforms are you currently using? Please select all of the ones that apply. So just now, in the last poll question, we learned that 98% of you are currently marketing your parts and service online. So we want to hear from you, okay? Select all that apply. Are you using search, SEO, SEM? Are you using display, as in banner ads or image ads? Are you doing online video? Are you doing social media? Or are you doing something completely different? For instance, radio like Pandora or Spotify or anything else. So of those marketing their parts and service online, what platforms are you currently using? We're looking forward to seeing your answers, so please get your votes in as quickly as you can. Once we get a majority of those votes in, we're going to close the poll and share the results. And wow, wait till you see these answers, Peter. Wow. Audience, thank you so much for your votes. This is really, really fascinating. I know, Peter, it's killing you, isn't it? You totally want to see this.
I'm in suspense, absolutely.
I'll tell you what, audience, I'm going to give you, let's say 10 more seconds to get your votes in, all right? And then we'll close this poll and share the results. And thank you in advance so much for voting and getting involved in these poll questions. It really helps us out to figure out what's going on in the auto industry, and certainly what's going on with our amazing audience that comes here almost every week. So, all right, are you ready, Peter, for this? I don't know if you're ready for this.
I am ready.
You are? All right, let's close this poll.
Pen in hand, yes.
And share the results. All right, 95% of my awesome audience today said that they are using search. They're doing SEO and SEM. Now, 66% said that they're also doing display, banner ads, image ads, those kinds of things. 36%, great number, are also doing online video. Great number. 80% say, hey, social is where it's at. And I'm really surprised at this. 18%, really high number, said that they're branching out. They're doing other stuff. They're marketing their parts and service in other platforms. 18%, that's pretty good, right?
That is fantastic, and again, it's nice to see the diversity with all of these offerings, and obviously working with you and your partners to leverage your analytics to see what's working for you. But as usual, this audience never fails to amaze, and this is great news in terms of being able to capture this opportunity.
Agreed. Great job, audience. Thank you so much for your participation. Peter, please take it away.
All right, great. We're back with our second section. We're going to quickly assess the parts and service opportunity for your dealerships and discuss who's winning in this space. In this section, we're going to really lay out the theme here, and that there's further opportunity for you at your dealerships to really capture some of these customers. Just as a quick recap, information that you are aware of, but just to make sure we're all on the same page. As we mentioned earlier, this is a huge opportunity for your dealerships, and frankly, what probably keeps the lights on more so than obviously the sales side of the house. Well, sales, you experience a nice profit margin according to the NADA of 6 to 8%. The reality is that your profit margin in auto parts sales is around 20 to 28%, and average profit margin for service is between 50 and 65%, making this a huge focus area. Not only for you at the dealership, but also from a retention standpoint for the OEMs. And what I mean by that is obviously getting a customer into your branded vehicles, getting them through your service bays, and then upselling them down the road, not only on your services and parts, but also getting them to repurchase from your dealership. We also know that the experience from a dealership is greatly improving thanks to the hard work that you're putting into your service centers, the programs that you have in place, some of the support from the OEMs. That notion that may have existed before of customer service or of the ability to get service or quickly at a dealership is certainly the tides are changing. We're seeing express lanes open up. We're seeing service hours expanding and so forth. And at the end of the day, according to J.D. Power's most recent report, overall satisfaction with dealership service facilities has indexed 44% higher than satisfaction with independent service facilities. So again, as usual, dealers rise to the top here and are providing an incredible experience. And this experience is also rewarding to you. As you continue to offer a great customer experience, consumers are rewarding your dealerships. And 2012, at the time of this study, $81 billion was spent in vehicle repair at dealerships. So this is a huge area of opportunity for your dealerships. When we talk about this opportunity, we have to also share with you that customers are there. 70% of customers are going online and leveraging search engines to look for your dealerships. But what does this really equate to? Well, on Google.com alone, and I recognize we're only one partner in the space, so you can imagine across all the partners out there how many searches and inquiries are happening. But on Google alone, 70 million customers are coming there to the property every month and searching for parts and service related information. And if you take your average click-through rates and then take that number of visitors and times it by your average conversion rates, this means that essentially Google is driving 525,000 conversions to your dealerships a month. So I challenge you to think about, obviously this is a national number, but how many of conversions are you getting at your dealership? What is sort of your share of this overall pie? And if you look at this number, of those 525,000 people who will convert, if you look at the conversion numbers there, that means an additional 100,000 customers will be referred to your dealerships as a result. So again, this is a huge opportunity from a search perspective. But it doesn't end in search. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to spend a lot of time talking about video. From the poll, it sounded like about 36% of you are actively leveraging video. So if there's one takeaway for this very savvy group, video might be an opportunity for further expansion. We are seeing a tremendous amount of demand in video content. And if you go to YouTube alone and we aggregate and categorize our videos, you'll find today that there's over 262,000 videos just on how to change your oil filter. There's 106,000 videos out there on how to change your brake fluid, and almost 13,000 on how to fix your fuel pumps. At the end of the day, these three categories would make up about, or account for about 1 year of video content on YouTube alone. Meaning if you literally started watching every one of these videos for 1 full year, you would finish watching all the videos, that content that's available there. And the reason I'm saying that, first of all, I don't recommend that strategy. That's probably not a healthy strategy. You start to look like me with a belly and everything else in that situation. But the point is that there's a lot of demand out there. There's a lot of people who are leveraging video platforms to further educate themselves, to understand if this is something they can do on their own, to educate themselves before they come into your dealerships, to understand this process as well. And so think about how you're out there today gaining access to these customers, whether it's putting video on your website or putting video on other sites like YouTube or anywhere else across the board. So who's winning in this space? We see there's demand, we see people are searching, we see people are watching videos. Who is winning in this space? The answer is there really is no clear winner. And while I think you can look at this negatively and say, gosh, our dealerships aren't winning, I see this as a positive. You have companies, third-party service bays, who their only objective really is service and is parts and service. And that's respectfully all they do, versus your dealership who has finance and CPO and new car sales and everything else. What we're seeing here is really there isn't a clear winner in this space, and as a result, I truly believe in partnership with your OEMs and at your dealership, you have opportunity to really change perception for customers, to think of you first in this process. What is this chart telling us? It's telling us that when customers were asked what service change comes to mind when you think of vehicle service, 59% of customers listed or typed in a brand with less than 1% recall. And ultimately what this means is people are typing in, I go to Mike Smith's auto shop down the street from me. I go to Joe Smith's auto center. And again, these are not necessarily brands with high recall. Jiffy Lube is leading the way from brands that are more mainstream, if you will, followed by Ford Motor Company with Quick Lanes, Midas at 7%, and then you see a lot of others, Honda and Toyota at OEM at 2%, Pep Boys Firestone all the way down at about 2% share. So again, I challenge you to think about how you can further coordinate with your OEMs and at your dealerships to really leverage the space and your services, because frankly there's no one winning in terms of a preconceived notion of, oh yes, I have to service my car, and Midas comes top of mind. As a result of these statistics, you're starting to see many of your OEMs start to position themselves for success, and I believe taking this space a little bit more seriously than maybe they have in the past in terms of providing a new service and competing with these third parties. You're probably privy to a lot more information than even I am at this point in terms of what your OEMs are doing. But here's a couple of news articles where Kia talked about complimentary scheduled maintenance programs for all people who purchase a new credenza. The first 5 factory scheduled service appointments will be free with 36 months and 37,500 miles. Again, a strategy for getting people back to your dealerships. It's free, getting them accustomed to the benefits and the expertise you provide, and then the hope of retaining those customers long term. GM, of course, mentioned that they want more parts at car dealerships, and they really talked about incentivizing dealers to beef up their inventory for same-day repairs, and buying more parts directly from the factory will help you, you help us. Let's improve our ability to do same-day repairs and give a customer experience, a great customer experience. Beyond that side, which I would kind of consider setting yourselves up for success, creating programs that will help you drive traffic to your dealership websites. Beyond that, we have companies that are taking things a step further. And I'm going to show you a video here in a moment from Audi on what they're doing overseas and how they're approaching the customer experience and the service centers. So bear with me a second. This will be as loud as it possibly can go, so I apologize if you can't hear it all. But we will have a link to the video after should we have troubles hearing it. Here we go.
At Audi, innovation has always been at the heart of everything we do, and we understand that trust and transparency are important to you. That's why we've developed AudiCam. AudiCam is a revolutionary way of showing you what work needs to be carried out on your car. Every time your car comes into a center, we give it a free health check. And if our technicians find something on your vehicle that warrants attention, we won't just tell you, we'll show you. Our technicians film your car in the workshop and show you in detail the problem that we've identified. We'll text you a secure PIN number and then email you a link to the film, which can be viewed on any device, including your mobile. The technician will then explain to you the work which we recommend doing.
We've found that your front brake pads are 100% worn. This is what a new pad will look like. We would advise replacing these today. Thank you very much.
If you want to proceed, you can simply authorize the job there and then with confidence at the touch of a button. So whether you're at home, in the office, or on the move, AudiCam gives you a unique perspective, the likes of which has never been seen before in the automotive industry. AudiCam, another industry first from Audi.
So I hope you could hear the video okay. And again, if you go to YouTube and type in AudiCam, you'll probably see the video there if you'd like to share that experience. But wow, right? I mean, what an awesome experience from a consumer standpoint that Audi is able to provide, at least overseas and hopefully coming to the States here. But think about this not from our perspective in the business, but from a consumer standpoint. I have to share, and I generally don't share too many personal stories because I'm not important, and really you probably don't care about some of my personal stories here. But I have to tell you that there. Well, thanks, Eliana. I appreciate it. I do. But bear with me for a second. But my previous car, I no longer am driving this car, but it was in the shop 7 times in 2 years, and it was for, frankly, I'm not a terrible driver. It was things that just happened to the car, and I had some problems and whatnot, and I took it into the service center 7 different occasions. And while I had good experiences at these service centers in terms of being treated well and customer satisfaction, the reality is I would drop my car off in the morning, I'd get a very nice and comfortable ride back to work, and then I'd be sitting at work, and I would be in meeting after meeting, in webinars and presentations and calls and client calls, and I would get a call from the dealership, and I would get a message to call them back. And then I would not be able to answer that call in time, and then I, would later get a break, call the dealership back, my service person isn't available. Leave them a message, they would have to call me back, I'm in my next meeting, so forth and so on. Of those 7 times, 4 of those times I was not able to even connect with the service center in any fashion to really understand what the problem is and what our next steps are until the next day. And 2 of those times I had to leave my car through the weekend because we physically couldn't connect. Maybe my situation's a little bit more unique. Maybe other professions aren't tied up in businesses or in meetings as much. But the point is think about how this experience really improves the user perspective. During my break, I could have easily clicked on that video. I could have understood, as they said, don't just tell you what the problem is, but physically see it, building confidence and trust in your dealership, because as you show me a new brake pad compared to the brake pad on my vehicle, it's very clear you're not upselling me on anything. It's very clear that this is a problem, and yeah, it does need to be replaced. Then not only that, I don't even just give you approval through that email, but I also have the ability to pay for that service, to not have to maybe come into the dealership or call back with my credit card information, but can do all of that online. And so I challenge you to think about how you're providing that type of experience to your customers as an added bonus. So thank you for bearing with my personal story. I hope it spoke to your heart there, and I hope that you enjoyed this video from Audie.
No, I mean,
when we talk about
feel your pain. I was just wondering, did you ever get that same car again?
I did not. I did not. I actually defected from that particular manufacturer. So we'll see long term. But had good dealership experiences across the board. Though I think through technology we could absolutely improve some of that experience. So something food for thought, if you will. So we're talking about the OEM experience. We're talking about OEMs creating programs, OEMs like Audi creating these types of interactions to improve consumer experience. And then when we get to the marketing side, we're starting to see OEMs step up their game. And if your OEM is not listed here, just to be very clear, it doesn't mean that they're not doing this. These are just a couple of examples. But you're seeing them start to do display and banner advertising across the board. And this is great because, as you know from many of you who are doing this, it drives consideration, it drives awareness of your vehicles, it pushes customers down to your dealership websites, which is fantastic news. But at the end of the day, the majority of customers who see these ads are not actually going to click on them. As you know, display or banner ad click-through rates are generally, in the 1% or sometimes even less range, depending on how you're targeting. But what we do know about these ads and their effectiveness is that while they may not drive a considerable amount of people clicking on the ads, they do something else. And that something else is that they drive people to conduct searches. In fact, we know that about 1/3 of customers who see these ads, display and banner ads, will then go to google.com and search. And on television, or excuse me, on video advertising in general, which includes both online and TV, about 39% of customers who see those ads will then go online and conduct searches. And so what do they find when they do searches? Well, hopefully this isn't happening in your market, as I understand many of you are doing search engine marketing. But typically what we see is an abundance of third parties dominating the search results page. Here we have OEMs, maybe many of you who are doing display, spending a lot of money on these advertisements, and when customers are getting to dealership sites, the majority of this page is taken up from third parties. Both in your SEM, you can see here, Uncle Ed's and Meineke and all my Pep Boys all the way down, and then also organically, a lot of these third parties appearing on the page. This is one example. What about brake pads? Similar situation. You have Firestone here. You have kind of third-party service centers, Bell Tire, third-party as well in the organic listings with videos from YouTube populating heavily on the pages. Engine tune-up costs, again, a similar story. You get the picture. I challenge you to conduct many of these searches in your area, again, and think about, especially with these category terms, all the customers who probably aren't existing customers, a way for you to get into the consideration set by showing your ad here, and of course only paying when somebody clicks on your ad in this example. At the end of the day, on any given month, what we tend to see is total search referrals for aftermarket going more dominantly towards tire and service centers. They are in the 130,000 referral range, if you will. And dealerships on its own are under that at a little over 100,000. And when we look at the differences, we see that dealers are actually doing pretty well organically compared to service centers. oftentimes, especially thanks to your branded terms, your sites are more relevant than third-party sites are and show up well organically. And you're getting majority of those traffic as indicated in the blue bars, which represents the dealership, where the green bars are third-party centers. But when it comes to sponsored listings, they're really doing a great job of intercepting the space. And they are really outperforming in terms of referrals from search engine marketing ads and maybe stealing some of your customers in this process. And of course, when we look at branded terms, we see again versus category terms or non-branded terms that your dealerships are running well and performing well on these branded terms, and that's a good area of continuing to retain customers. But in order to grow your base, we have to find ways to win in the category of customers, as you know, this is an area where tire and service centers are frankly beating us today. So with that in mind, we'll finish our last 10 minutes here with 3 strategies for successfully reaching dealers online. Again, many of you might be participating in some of these, but we'll share with you some ammunition in terms of if you're fighting for more budgets, want to do more in the space, or just want to confirm that what you're doing is the best-in-class solution. We will talk about, first, leveraging search to be found when customers are looking for parts and service-related information, both on desktop and mobile. We'll talk about reaching in-market shoppers specifically through remarketing. You have a unique and distinct advantage to collect customers who are on your parts and service page, parts and service pages of your website, and remarketing to them, or remarketing customers who submit quotes through your dealership and waiting 60, 90 days to then remarket parts and service messages back to them. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then offer your drivers education and brand engagement content through video. I would go as far as saying, and this is my opinion based on the data, not Google's opinion, this is Peter Leto talking, but I would go as far as saying that video is even more important from a fixed ops side from a dealer perspective than it is from a sales side. Don't get me wrong, it's very important from the sales side, but we're starting to see more and more customers leveraging video through fixed ops. So for you know, the 36% of you who are doing this, that's wonderful. See if you're doing some of the solutions we'll recommend today. For the rest of you, really consider this as a major takeaway from our time. First, let's talk about how we can reach customers through search on desktop and mobile. Just to give you point things in perspective on search today, we know that this is the most leveraged source for parts and service shoppers. We shared that with you earlier, but we're seeing significant growth in this space. Search growth for vehicle maintenance categories and service categories is up 28% year over year, indicating more and more people are searching. Search is certainly not something that's dead, but rather we are seeing increased demand more so than ever before. And when we talk about being successful in the space, it's really about making sure your dealership is front and center with customers, both on desktop, as you here see, and as mobile, as you'll see in a moment. In this example, someone typed in Honda Accord OEM parts. They want OEM specific parts. And you see 2 dealerships doing a fantastic job of being front and center on the search page, pushing third parties down that page. And in doing so on this message, they're really leveraging unique ad formats like site link extensions, which are those blue links underneath the ad that allow a customer to deep link to a specific page within your website, getting them there more quickly. So as opposed to going to your home page, they're able to go specifically to a parts and service page, if you will, and then be right where they want to be. From your perspective, you get the ability to kind of shape or frame what you want your customers to think about. Is it scheduling an appointment? Is it ordering parts? You have the ability to put those site links in. They're also giving you the opportunity as a consumer to connect directly with the dealership and leveraging a call tracking number. This is allowing them to measure online to in-store and hold vendors, partners like Google and other vendors accountable. This means that they can tell how many people saw my ad, how many people called my dealership as a result of seeing my ad, what is my return on investment. You also notice in the example I shared with you that both of those dealers were owning the top of the search engine marketing page, and that is really critically important in this process. You'll see that if you're at the top 3 spots in the search engine as opposed to being down the right-hand sidebar, your dealership ads will experience more success in terms of conversions and leads. Top ads drive 6 times more leads for new customers and 13 times more for existing customers. So if you're really wondering, does it make a benefit for our dealership to show up at the top versus down the right-hand sidebar, from these studies, the overwhelming answer was yes. You will experience greater success in those top spots. You might pay a little bit more for it, I'm not going to lie, but that return on investment may well be worth it considering these statistics. As we mentioned, mobile is critical in this process. I probably don't have to talk to this savvy audience on the importance of mobile, but as you know, we're seeing queries for mobile devices gain exponentially and even maybe outgain and outgrow in certain areas what's happening on a desktop level. We also know that Americans are leveraging its devices as a whole. I would venture to guess that everybody on this call has a smartphone handy, probably has it in hand as we speak. At the end of 2013, we had about 250 million people who were leveraging mobile devices in the United States, or smartphones, I should say, which equates to about 50% of the population. And just in a few short years, we'll fully eclipse this, moving to about 260 million devices and about 3/4 of Americans who are owning these devices. What's interesting, and something I challenge you to think about, is that mobile devices are not just a lead-generating activity. In fact, I would argue that, according to our research here, that's not just what customers are doing. They're not on the go, stranded on the side of the road, calling your dealership. Yes, some are doing that, but that's not the primary feature of these devices. And they're not just trying to schedule appointments with you. Today's consumer expects the same experience, whether on a desktop, a tablet, or mobile device, throughout the process. And as you can see here, in yellow indicates a smartphone, in green indicates a tablet. And this is the types of actions customers are performing on parts and service-related information throughout their research process. And you can see that if you compare smartphone across the board, you're going to see more upper funnel actions taking place, early research options taking place, even more so than towards the end when they're calling your dealership. So I really challenge you to think about your user experience from a mobile perspective. Is your mobile site the same as your desktop site, and do you offer the same ability to interact and find information, both all the way from a research perspective all the way down to, contacting your dealership? When we talk about what actions customers are taking on your website, it's really important to point out these three categories. First, in blue, they are price shopping on your site. They are looking for pricing information. They are looking at discount and offers. 38% are doing so. We're also looking at mobile to in-store. 42% are looking at your store hours, and if you offer the availability for in-store pickup for parts. They're also checking prices at other locations. And many, as you know, are calling your dealerships. While this study did not indicate so, we have heard reports from third parties in the space that almost 2/3 of calls to your dealership are coming through parts and service. So are you tracking that? Are you measuring that? And what do your numbers look like compared to sales? And then finally, as you can see, product research is critical in this process, as indicated in green. Comparing features, searching for availability of parts and accessories, watching a parts video. 26% of customers are doing this on websites. Do you offer this ability? And then consumer reviews and understanding the process or your services is a big part of the equation that continues to grow as well. How are you reaching these customers? If your ad looks similar to the one here, with the ability to click to call with a great message from the dealership, you are winning in this space. You are front and center. You're at the top of the page. You're not at the bottom of the page where you have to scroll down. And you're providing, hopefully, a good marketing experience. A marketing experience is only one part of the equation. The other part, of course, is a mobile optimized site. And while it might be funny to many of you on this call that we're talking about this in 2014, the reality is we see oftentimes dealership work with different vendors for parts and service, and oftentimes their site looks like this today. It's a non-mobile optimized site. And as you know, this site is not a recommended strategy. This is not a good user experience. 57% of customers will see this and immediately leave, and 43% will not recommend doing business with you because you are not making this a good user experience. They have to scan, they have to scroll, they have to pinch the page to really see the full effect. On the other side, you have an example of a mobile optimized site. You guys are familiar with this, the ability to really cleanly navigate and see service coupons, get directions, or call the service center, and do more actions as you scroll down the page. Eliana made a great mention to us. Great, Peter. Thanks for sharing these things, but how do we get started, or how do we learn more in this process? Of course, you have many great vendors in the space who will manage your marketing on your behalf, but we also have the ability to do some self-learning if you want to get smart about the process. We introduce you to Google AdWords with a link where you can find more information not only on AdWords, which is the system in which you advertise across Google, but also we'll walk you through step-by-step guides on best practices, as well as offer you videos to watch, whether you want to watch a long video and really get educated on it and take tests, or you just simply want to grab a coffee in the morning and start your day watching a couple of 5-minute videos that help you understand the space. This would be a great resource to start at, and with search specifically. Next, we're going to move into our second strategy, and we're really going to talk about leveraging display ads to reach in-market shoppers, and not just display ads, but do remarketing. Today, we have the ability, you have the ability, you might be doing this today, to really appear contextually relevant with dealers or with customers. This is an example of a display ad by a dealer when someone's looking for how to change an oil and they're reading an article. This customer is located in your area, and this dealership, Rootcase Honda, is putting a very relevant message in front of your customers. For those of you who are doing display or banner advertising today, I highly recommend that you evaluate how you're targeting customers. There's multiple ways to target customers. You can target automotive categories, which essentially means anyone who's looking at auto content, we're going to serve an ad to. And there's nothing wrong with that approach. That is a good approach. It's relevant content, and you might reach some shoppers there. But you can also get more granularly targeted, like the ad you see here, that essentially says, if someone is reading about oil changes, I want to serve my message to someone a oil change message to that customer. The difference would be if someone is simply reading about a Honda Accord, 2014 Honda Accord. When you're targeting topics, you have the ability to show your ad, and you might be showing a service message to someone who's looking at a brand new 2014 Honda Accord. So the difference is that you have the ability to really contextually target these customers. You also, I'm happy to take questions on that at the end if I didn't explain that very well. You also what I want to mention about these advertisements is that they provide a unique proposition in that we are seeing growth when you target contextually, as you saw in that last example, where people are increasingly clicking through from that ad to your dealership website. Referrals from display ads have actually grown 20% year over year, at least from what we can measure on the Google Display Network, meaning people saw that ad, and this year compared to last year, 20% more clicked on those ads and went to your dealership as a result. We also want to mention the ability to remarket to customers. A customer visits your website. They are looking at your service specials, but they don't schedule an appointment. You have the ability to then follow that customer. On the inverse, if you have a customer who purchases a new vehicle from you, who gets a quote from you, you have the ability to capture that customer and in 30, 60, 90 days remarket to those customers with service offerings. This is critically important for you because this is like direct mail but online, where you're dealing with customers who have already shown interest. And as you know, if you get a customer into your service center, third-party reports from OEMs will tell us that you're 3 times more likely to continue to retain that customer and get them to repurchase a new vehicle from you, whether it's repurchasing a brand new vehicle or something on your used car lots. To be clear, what does remarketing mean and what does this visual look like? Someone is on your service center shop or website. They're looking at different features and reading about your award-winning service. You can see these beautiful buttons on the right that say schedule an appointment, see what others have to say, see our specials. This customer might not have taken those actions, but instead they leave your website, they go across the web, whether they're looking at a golf site, a news site, a cooking site, a sports site, whatever that may be, you have the opportunity then to serve your ad to that person on the right-hand side. And it basically will say, we have great service specials, $24.99 oil change, schedule your appointment today. You then click through and have the ability to take that customer through the next logical step in the process. Just like search, if you're interested in learning more, reading more materials, getting step-by-step guides, or watching more videos, there's a link here at the bottom that will talk to you about the display network and options for you to best target your customers based on your goals and your needs. Finally, in closing, we'll end with talking about video, offering drivers education and brand engagement through video content. And as you guys know, video is an incredibly important platform. You're starting to leverage this. Many of you are doing this online today. It sounds like 36% of you from the poll. This is a great opportunity to further connect with customers in a moment where they're looking to be educated and influenced. YouTube is a great avenue for that. YouTube is becoming not just a great video network, the #1 global network, but also the number 2 search engine, at least in the United States, where more people are searching on YouTube than any other platform, with the exception of Google.com. And really, this is a space that can be highly efficient and effective for you in video in general and on YouTube, because not a lot of your competitors are doing this. Not even the third-party rooftops are doing this. The idea here with YouTube is to create compelling content. There's third parties out there in the space. I know DealerOn has hosted UnityWorks Media before, and there's certainly others in the space. You have the ability to create great content as well, just by using flip cams at your dealership or tablets and cameras in that way, and to create service videos to educate your customers on what to expect. As you can see in most of these videos, these are dealer videos that are achieving hundreds, if not thousands, of views because no one else is meeting this demand. And if you can smartly provide an opportunity to educate customers and help them understand why this might be good for them to bring it into your dealership, you might have the leg up on the competition and be able to get some of these customers to visit your dealership, as opposed to trying to do this themselves or visit a third-party bay. At the end of the day, from the Millward Brown study, we found that over a third of drivers were actively looking for parts videos alone on their online. 22% of these customers used search engines to look for these videos. 14% went right to a video sharing website like a YouTube to look for these videos. And as you can see, 12% saw these on retailer websites. So they are going to Walmarts or Jiffy Lubes of the world looking for this content. I do want to point out to you that only 3% saw it on a vehicle dealership website. And I don't think this is as much a reflection that the video does not work. It's more of a reflection on today there's an opportunity for more dealers to put video content on their site that pertains to parts and service. And so I challenge you to think about what video content you have available today and how you can continue to build out your library. Hosted on websites like YouTube that can be shared socially across the web. Those videos are then shared on Facebook, connecting with millions of fans there, and on Twitter and so forth. And your videos can then go viral and also live on your website. So think about your strategy from that perspective. We see that video growth is growing. The people who are watching your video content and then as a result are clicking through that video to your dealership website is growing year over year, 13% growth in that space. And we're also seeing that drivers are spending a lot of time on YouTube specifically in this platform. 10 times, drivers are visiting YouTube 10 times per month, and on average are spending 3+ minutes. These shoppers from the Millward Brown study are spending 3+ minutes watching these parts and service related content. What types of videos are succeeding with customers? Again, the majority of customers, almost half, 49%, are wanting to see DIY videos. Don't let this deter you from attracting these customers. They initially approach the process thinking they will be able to do this themselves, and later are influenced by a video to enter and go to a retail store, which you'll see in a second. 34% are looking for product videos, 30% are looking for reviews, 22% are looking to see your ads again on television, and 29% are looking for customer testimonials. As I alluded to previously, we can see that watching videos is one thing, but watching these videos drives people to take action. 67% of the people who watch a video online was introduced to a brand new brand, a brand they didn't consider before. Maybe it was your dealership, maybe it was a third-party service center. 37% of those customers purchased parts or accessories after watching an online video directly from that store. And 34% went directly into the retailer, which again could be your brick-and-mortar dealership or a third-party site. So video is not only a tool for educational purpose and awareness, but it does drive action, as indicated from the study that Millward Brown was able to determine. How can you reach these shoppers? You've seen this before from the service side. If you attended our webinar that we did a couple months back with UnityWorks Media, you've heard of TrueView. This is an option I cannot recommend more. You should put online video across multiple different platforms. Because I'm the Google guy, Google owns YouTube. I'm talking about YouTube because it's the product I know, but think about how this relates to other areas. And as you can see in this example, if someone types in Jeep oil change, you have the ability to run an ad there. They click on, they're about to watch a video on how to change your oil from Chase Networks, and before that video airs, you have the ability to show your commercial to that customer with your offer, and you only pay in this situation when somebody watches your video in full. After 5 seconds, the skip button appears, and if that customer skips your ad after 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 29 seconds, you don't pay a dime. You only pay if somebody watches in full. Highly relevant because you're a Jeep dealer. They typed in Jeep oil change. They're about to watch a video on Jeep oil changes, and by the way, they're located right in your backyard. Let's influence them. Let's get ourselves in the consideration set. At the end of the day, when asking these shoppers, will you consider watching more video the next time you're in the mood for parts and service or in need of parts and service? The answer was overwhelmingly yes. Customers are finding this very influential in the process. 85% said they plan to watch more videos the next round around to further educate themselves and make decisions. As with the search example and the display example, here is an opportunity for you to educate yourself further on video. Again, not only step-by-step guides, but also with video assets as well. And of course, again, I emphasize there are many third parties out there, your partners, many of which you're familiar with, who are able to execute this on your behalf. In closing, and I apologize, I'm a little bit over on the hour. I told you my personal story that probably took a little too long there. Hopefully you still enjoyed that.
You're fine,
Our
Peter.
takeaways are as follows. Our takeaways are as follows. If you can take away these 6 points, today's drivers are increasingly digital. We said 7 in 10 drivers are researching online before they purchase. This may surprise many of you, as there is a preconceived notion in the industry that these people are just on a need basis and start to make calls right as they're in need, but this is not necessarily the case. Dealerships have opportunity to engage customers online. This is a huge profit center for you. You make a significant amount of money off of your services, and customers are spending a significant amount of money, $81 billion annually at least, on this in this area. Search drives consideration and purchase. You saw that search is heavily leveraged, the most leveraged source of information in this entire shopping process, and it's really important to be found on desktop, but also in our fourth theme on mobile, where we see 32% are using their devices just at a parts store to really understand this process and trying to educate themselves. And then finally, display ads drive awareness. We've seen referrals up from both display and video over time. Video is increasingly important, with 85% of those shoppers wanting to come back the next time and look at video content. So with that in mind, I'll take a drink, I'll turn things back over to Eliana, and I look forward to answering any questions that I may be able to help with today. Thanks so much for your time.
Peter, that was awesome, audience. Come on, that was pretty awesome. I know. I wish you were all unmuted so I could hear you all clapping. But listen, if you're anything like me, I was trying to take as many notes as possible, and I just couldn't keep up with the a tremendous amount of information that Peter just dropped on us. So if you would like a copy of this presentation deck, email me directly, please, at eliana@dealeron.com. All right, it'll come to you in a PDF, but other than that, it'll be almost exactly what you saw right here. Okay. Yeah, and like Bob wrote in, so much info. Wow, nice job. And I have to agree, Peter, that was chock full of so much information. And by the way, Sharpie, he wrote in, he's like, Peter hasn't gone over unless it's a 3-hour webinar. So we're not even close to that. But I'll tell you what, we're going to get to some of your questions right now. If you haven't asked your question yet to Peter, if you haven't written it in, this is the time. I don't know what you're waiting for. Now's the time. Send it on in, because we're going to get to those questions in just a moment. Before we do, however, we got some prizes to give away. I love it when we give away prizes. We got some doozies today. So it's that time. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, I announced that our good friends at Google are giving away free Chromecast device to 2 of your lucky webinar attendees. So just so you know, Chromecast is the easiest way to enjoy online video and music on your TV. You plug it into your HD TV, and you can control it with your smartphone, your tablet, or your laptop. It is so cool. And this latest technology release from Google, it sold out worldwide within 2 hours. Worldwide. Worldwide, within 2 hours. All you have to do is be the first one with the correct answer on one of these questions, and you're winning this awesome prize. So here we are. Good luck, everyone. I want you all to saunter up to your keyboard, get those fingers all nimble and ready to go. Peter, if you wouldn't mind, go to that next slide so they can see what a cute little Chromecast looks like. There you go. It's simple. It's cute. It's like a little USB thing, but you stick it in your HD. It's awesome. It's awesome. Okay, so here we go. Good luck, everyone. And vendors, please sit this one out. This prize is only for dealers who want to win this offering from Google. I really would appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, here we go. Good luck, everyone. Here's the question. What % of parts or service customers will conduct research prior to visiting a parts supplier or a service center? What percentage of parts and service customers will do some research before visiting a parts supplier or service center? Looks like we have a winner. All right. Not a lot of people got this question right, but for the few of you that did, I will let you know the correct answer was 70%. And I want to congratulate the first person who wrote in the correct response, Kelly Wilson. Kelly Wilson, how you doing? Kelly Wilson, you are one of our winners today. Congratulations. And don't worry, audience, you have one more chance to win. Kelly, write on in. Let me know your mailing address and, of course, the dealership you're from so we can give you a proper congratulations. And I believe we have a question from you coming up in just a little bit. So here we go. All right, audience, hunker down. This is your chance to win another prize, okay? This is a fill in the blank. And you would have had to really been listening for this one, so I hope you were taking great notes. Good luck, everyone. So fill in the blank. Shoppers who service their vehicles at your dealership are how many times more likely to repurchase or lease another vehicle from your dealership? What is the answer? Shoppers who service your vehicles at your dealership are how many times more likely to repurchase or lease another vehicle from your dealership? Let's check it out. Let's see. Ooh, yes. Our very first person who answered this got this correct. Carrie Shepard. Carrie Shepard had the correct answer of 3 times. They're 3 times more likely to repurchase or release another vehicle from your dealership. Carrie Shepard, I'm writing your name down. That's it. It's official. Congratulations to Kelly Wilson and Carrie Shepard. Carrie, if you wouldn't mind, please write on in your mailing address and your dealership name. We would really appreciate that. And, of course, we want to congratulate both of our winners, Kelly Wilson, Carrie Shepard. Thank you, everyone, so much for playing along today. And, of course, we want to thank our good friends at Google for their incredible generosity. Thank you so much. Okay, congratulations. All right, here we go. Peter, now that we've done the fun part, now we got to get to the funner part. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
I am ready.
What I like to call Stump the Presenter. Okay, if you wouldn't mind, let's go to the next slide so people can see your studly headshot. There we go. All right, audience, if you have a question for Peter Leto, now's the time. How often do you get to talk to somebody from Google, right? All right, so our first question, no. Our first question comes to you from Michael. He wants to know if you know how the OEMs really measure impact of their marketing efforts by ROI in fixed ops. Do you have any insight to that, Peter? Do you know how the OEMs measure that? Or do they even care
Michael,
to measure?
That's a fantastic question. In general, without speaking to any one specific OEM, a lot of it is really just based on user engagement in terms of click-throughs to the site and then actions that are taking on a national site, not really understanding or being able to see how that trickles down to a dealership level. So whether you're, I'm giving examples here, and please don't take this as any one specific OEM of secrets I'm giving, but, whether an OEM last spring, if I'm not mistaken, Toyota sponsored some of the NBA playoffs with Toyota Care. They're not able to necessarily see how many people then typed in Toyota Care after those promotions at halftime on search and went to your dealership. What they might be looking at, though, is how much search interest those offline efforts put towards online searches. So in other words, okay, we ran an offline campaign and search interest in our branded terms here grew 30%. So, we believe that this had a pretty significant impact. Beyond that, though, with display and banner advertisements and even search engine marketing that they're running, What I'm aware of today is mostly measuring on click-through rates and actions that those customers are taking on the site. I think in an ideal world, we would be able to have a closer coordination where you would actually be able to have OEMs see not only what happens on their site, but in some ways be able to see that trickle down to your dealership site, so they could literally report back what your return on investment was for an advertisement that they placed.
Great question, Michael, and thank you so much for the great answer, Peter. Michael has a couple more questions coming up in a little bit. Right now we're going to get to Drew's question, and Peter, I want you to stay with me because he wrote a lot, so he actually, he took a lot of time, to put all this together. So here we go. This is all from Drew, all right? He says, this webinar presentation seems to be more focused on parts, which is a completely different beast. And while technically fixed ops, we are kind of more interested in vehicle servicing. That put aside, we don't do search for service. He says the ROI just doesn't seem to work for us. Instead, they use PPC and search just for parts. And our parts are targeted to people outside our DMA for incremental sales. And one of the major problems with service for a single point dealer in a metro market has been localization for fixed ops, because people are not going to drive over an hour passing other OEM dealers to get their vehicle serviced, especially for a $19.95 oil change, especially since at the OEM level and in a metro market, we all tend to sell the service and parts for the same or similar price. This has not been a problem for multi-stores like Firestone, Amco, and Napa, etc., as they don't care which location they go to. But for a single point or a 1 or 2 location dealer, it's really hard to get the next door customer on Google pay-per-click. And the next door customer is our primary focus for incremental service sales. That is what Drew needs help with. How do you help somebody like Drew who wants just the people within, a certain localized, very localized, place other than using PPC?
Yeah, and Drew, thank you for taking the time to writing that question. You touch on a lot of great points there. First of all, in the presentation, I do admit that there were certain slides focused on service versus parts. And, as you get a copy of this presentation in PDF, those slides will be marked accordingly, because some of them looked at parts particularly in questions, others looked at service as a whole. So I apologize for some of the confusion there. When we talk about this, it's hard to troubleshoot your question directly without knowing more of what you've tried in the past and what, what may have worked or not worked a little bit for you. But when we're talking about the ability to target customers who are in our backyard, I'm assuming that your targeting capabilities on your, in your campaigns have been very, very, very granularly targeted. Mobile devices, if you're doing bid modifiers on mobile to bid more to show your ad to customers who are within, 5 or 10 miles of your dealership or whatever mile range you're comfortable with, would be a general best practice to make sure that your ad is front and center with those customers. If you're trying PPC and you're generally not showing up in those top couple positions, that's another thing that we're seeing, a significant drop-off of performance. So, in your past experience, were you showing up at the top of the page, or were you averaging a position that was, 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 down the page? So that's something else I would look at as well. I would really focus on your branded terms. I will tell you that breaking through on category terms is a lot harder for dealerships today. I think we're still solving that, and what will solve that over time is a closer and better integration from an OEM perspective on branding for dealerships and branding for your brand in dealerships. So what I mean by that, for example, is continuing to push in consumers' mind that when I want to get my vehicle serviced, I need to head to quick lanes. Quick lanes is the thing that comes to mind, and I think the OEM's influence can help with that, and then your continued support from a dealership level will help with that. But ultimately, price is going to always be an issue. And I've seen success personally for dealers in getting into consideration set when they've stopped to try to compete on pricing side and talked more about unique value proposition. So my advice, again, beyond looking at mobile devices and how you're targeting, beyond your ad positioning, is to also look at your messaging and understand how are you reaching these customers. Because to your point, if you're advertising a $40 oil change and everyone else is at $14.99, it might not be it's not going to capture customers as closely in that realm. We have seen better success over talking about the other added benefits that you will get, like the multi-point inspection and everything else that may be included in that. So I apologize if that's not a perfect answer, and I'm sorry that I don't know exactly what you've tried, but I'm hoping a few of those suggestions can help you move the needle a little bit better at your dealership.
Peter, I thought that was great advice. And Drew, thank you so much for writing such an explanatory question and really telling us what's going on at your dealership. I wish you the best of luck, my friend. Certainly, if you have a follow-up question, please let us know. Oh, and Drew wrote in, "You're good. Thanks." Thanks so much, Drew. All right, let's get to this next question. Peter, if you're ready.
I am ready.
Okay, next question comes to you from Michael. He says, how does Peter suggest to enhance a dealer's share of mind toward fixed ops marketing? Okay, so I guess Michael is asking, what magic words would you say to a dealer to convince them that we should be marketing the fixed ops online?
And I apologize, Eliana. I'm sorry. The question is how to convince a dealer that we should be marketing?
Yes.
Or how to convince a customer?
No. Okay. How to convince a dealer to market their fixed ops online?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm hoping some of the stats that we sent in today will help with that. You guys know this better than I do because you sit closer to the situation, but from my experience, I would start with profit margins. I would really start with the fact that, here we have this opportunity in front of us, and ultimately we're maybe not achieving all the success that we could. And if you look at when someone right in our backyard and you then go to a search results page and show your dealer that here I am right in Birmingham, Michigan, and I type in, Toyota Camry oil change, look at all these third parties that are coming up on this page. And by the way, we're nowhere to be found in this example. We're not even in a consideration set. So I would kind of start with that component and recommend some sort of test with the dealer, with your dealer or GM, if they're the ones making the decision, to say, give me a budget, give me $5,000 for the month to just try to show you how we can increase visits to our dealership in this way. Here's what types of keywords we could run on. Here's where we could land people on our website, and with the goal of trying to attract them to schedule appointments and conduct phone calls, and sort of paint that visual step-by-step of what it could look like for them to participate in this space. And I would leverage a tool called Google Trends. So if you go to google.com and go to Google Trends, you'll be able to click on that, search for something, Toyota Camry oil change or oil change, for example. When you're in that view, you'll be able to sub-select categories, which will allow you to select at least down to a state level or to a geo level, where you'll then be able to go into a map and click further and show your dealership the amount of traffic that's coming in this vehicle and service-related queries in your dealership alone, and say, today there's 50,000 searches that are happening, and we're getting 0 of that traffic. No one is coming to our dealership. And these are all people directly within our area. So I think that visual compiled with the profit centers, obviously mentioning the profit, and compiled with the visuals of who are they competing with can certainly help tell that story.
And Michael already wrote in, he's like, wow, great advice, and the Google Trend tip is awesome. So he really liked your answer for that. So thank you so much for that. And of course, we still have a ton of great questions from our audience. So audience, please stay on. We're going to get to all these questions right now, okay? Follow-up question came in from Kelly Wilson, one of our winners. She said, what would be your elevator speech to pitch a dealer owner on SEM display for fixed ops. So she's taking it a step further.
Great, and we might, Kelly, if you could, you said SEM or display or SEM display?
She said SEM display, but maybe she meant
Okay.
or and.
Yeah, I think what's treated as or, and please clarify if differently, because I'm not as clear with SEM display. If we're talking maybe about remarketing, that might provide a different answer. But I think I would piggyback on Michael's question there, and really just demonstrate what that opportunity is. Another tool I didn't mention, so I mentioned Google Trends, which will give you heat maps and show what customers are looking for. There's another tool called Google Traffic Estimator that will allow you to say to your dealer, okay, well, ideally, what type of terms would you want us to show up on a search results page? You provide me with a list of them, and have them list out 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 terms, and go to this tool called Google Traffic Estimator. Just type that into your browser, and you'll see it pop up on search results. And type in that term, and it will tell you how many people are searching directly for those terms. And then I'm hoping through your analytics, you would be able to also demonstrate, how many of those customers you are capturing in that way, to show them, right now we are getting, I'm going to do this for simplicity because I'm not very good at math, but we have 100 people searching on these terms. Today we capture 10 of them, which means that we are giving 90 customers are basically essentially becoming gifts to competitors, where we're not even in the consideration set because we're not there at all. What is our share of voice on those terms? It's 10%, meaning we're only showing up 10% of the time, and we're only capturing X% of those clicks. We need to be doing more in this space to move the needle. From my experience talking with dealers and working with certain dealerships in terms of helping to consult in this field, I really believe a test budget is a good opportunity, a good example of just getting their feet wet. I think a lot of times people say, well, what's our commitment? $10,000 or $20,000. That can be tough to swallow, especially if you're not used to this space. But let me test this. Let me show you the results, and then getting them more familiar in general with analytics would be helpful. I know it's difficult, but in theory, a dealer or a GM should be looking at your analytics in your reports as much as you are your financials at the dealership. Those two should go hand in hand and stapled all together. The more they understand about the power of data and what it will tell them, I think the better off they will be long term with recognizing the value that digital marketing can bring to their business.
Great answer. And Kelly did write back in, and she said, and, just so you know. And,
Okay.
and we also had a follow-up question from Michael, who says, well, okay, when dealers do decide to go online, what Google metrics, or as you call them, analytics, should be shared with the dealer? Are you saying it's just show them all, show it everything?
It's a great question too there, Michael, and unfortunately my answer back is, you use your best judgment on what your dealer is going to react to best. In an ideal world, at least from a Google perspective, you can see everything. You can slice and dice the information in more ways than you'd want to, and in many ways that can be overwhelming because it's hard to know where to focus attention first. I think that there's a lot of reports that you can customly create in Google Analytics, in Google AdWords, to just have emailed directly back to your dealer on an ongoing basis. It can be in their inbox every day. It could be available to them on the day that you cover off, your weekly meeting or whatever it is, that really paint, nice visual pictures of performance and what you're capturing. Being able to not only tell you about demand, which is good, is my marketing working? Are we getting people to click through on our ads to visit the website? But then from there, taking what's happening on the website as a result and saying, okay, basically once we get people to our website, great, our marketing's working. It drove people to the website. That's all that our marketing can guarantee us. From there, what's happening on the website, and are we having issues with our website? Do we need to talk to our website provider to improve certain circumstances? Are we getting people to schedule appointments? Are we making it easy for them to order parts from us? How many steps are involved in that process? Do we need to improve that process? Those are the types of things that you can get into in conversation. I encourage you that if you guys it would be beneficial for this audience for us to produce an upcoming webinar in maybe 2015, and if Eliana is open to it, on AdWords interface, on Google Analytics, and talking about reporting. That's a subject we'd absolutely be happy to explore. So I encourage you to reach out or voice your opinions if that's something that would be of benefit, and we could maybe take that exact question and subject and demonstrate what success could look like.
I love it, and I already vote yes. All right, so, okay, we already have people writing in, ooh, do that, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let's get to this. We have to hurry up and close out this webinar, people, so we're going to hurry up and try and get to as many questions as we can. We do have a lot of them. So let's get to this next one from Ryan. Ryan says, Peter, in your research, how far are people willing to drive to get their vehicle serviced? Should we create custom landing pages for each service targeting specific suburbs? For example, if my dealership is in Detroit, should I create a custom page targeting Madison Heights oil change? See, now, I think it works the opposite way. I think people who are in the suburbs are going to type in Detroit, because I live in a suburb of Philadelphia, and I don't type in my city name. I type in Philadelphia, but that's me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm with you, Eliana. And as a Detroit native, and I love our city. If you have a dealership in Detroit, you should probably look and see what you can find anywhere else in the suburbs. So that would be a good strategy. But kidding aside for a moment, it's a great question. Here's the thing we have to think about. From the study, I don't have a specific statistic as how far that our customers will travel. I have heard from third parties when we're getting into parts and service. Specifically service, and I forget the question that came in earlier. You're seeing a smaller window of mileage. I think the statistic off the top of my head was 10 or 15 miles maximum. Parts, I believe, was a little bit higher, more in line with sales, which is 20 to 25 miles. But here's what I'm going to say to you. In general, you only generally pay when somebody clicks on your ad, at least from a search engine marketing perspective. To Eliana's point, as you know in many of your metro areas, I often will search for, Ford dealer Metro Detroit or Ford dealer Detroit, knowing that Google's smart enough to draw back results that are close to me. So think about it from that perspective of maybe being okay with running on those types of terms, knowing that on the back end, Google knows more about where the user is than they don't. The second thing that I want to talk to you about is oftentimes we will rightfully put really granular targeting on desktop searches specifically, meaning we will either put in a zip code or we will put in our specific dealership, draw a shape on a map and say we only want to target customers in that area. On a mobile device, that tends to be okay because they're GPS-enabled devices, and we can really accurately pinpoint those customers. On desktop, if Google is not 100% sure that that customer is 100% within that zip code you put in, we will not serve the ad. We will not take a chance to serve your ad to someone who's not 100% certainty in your area.
Oh.
What does that mean? It means that you are actually restricting traffic by doing that. So what my encouragement would be to you is maybe expanding from your example of Detroit to Madison Heights if that's a close enough connection, which might not be a great example in this case, but it might be worth putting in a couple of zip codes around you and then reiterating based on what your analytics are telling you. That will ensure you're not restricting yourself so much. And maybe if you're not seeing a return on this, it's because you're really just not reaching enough customers, or unfortunately due to the limitations of desktop, we're not really able to guarantee you that there's a whole pool of customers we might have served your ad to, but we can't guarantee it, so we won't do it.
Interesting. All right, Ryan, good luck with that. I hope it works out for you. Okay, we're going to try and get to some more questions. Kelly wrote in, do you have any numbers on how many users are no longer accessing the web through desktops at all?
That's a great question, Kelly. I don't know that we have numbers that aren't doing it, but we have seen, mobile devices and tablets usage of the internet surpass desktop. We know that 38% of media consumption as a whole is on mobile devices today, which is incredible growth. We know that from an automotive perspective, about 50% of auto queries are now coming from mobile devices as opposed to desktop. But I don't know that we're seeing a decline in desktop. People not using desktops at all. I have not seen statistics on that completely.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, we're hearing back again from Ryan. He wants to know about service schedulers. He says there are not a lot of great vendors for service schedulers, in his opinion. The service scheduler is fine. It's how it integrates with the DMS. So, for instance, Xtime, a popular vendor manufacturer recommended, is Flash-based. So should my dealership use a service scheduler that integrates with my DMS but doesn't look so great? Or should I use a service scheduler that looks amazing and is super user-friendly but does not integrate with my DMS? So we have to call and confirm and reschedule every appointment request. Now, that's an interesting question. Do you have an answer for him, Peter? What would you do?
Yeah, it's a great question, and unfortunately, Ryan, I'm going to fail you here because I'm not as familiar with sort of the back-end stuff, although I do understand your concern. At the end of the day, my advice to you from a performance perspective is, number one, put the user first. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, it sounds like one of them produces a better user experience. The other one might produce kind of heartache on the back end. Focus on the user first and figure out internally how you're going to have to fix the opportunity. But secondarily, focus on making this as easy as a process as possible for a customer. What I mean by that is, even if you look at third-party service centers who offer the ability to schedule an appointment, they're not doing a great job, in my opinion, of it either. There's so much information and steps that you have to take in the process, and not enough communication on why taking these steps is going to be beneficial for you, whether it saves you time when you get to the dealership or what. So how are you allowing a customer to connect as quickly with you as possible for the minimal amount of information they have to provide, and then explaining to them, here's what we mandate: your name, your phone number, your address, and the scheduled time. Here's another field that says, should you like us, if you prefer to do this ahead of your appointment, please provide these fields of information as well so that we can just grab your keys from you and be all set. That tells the customer the value proposition more so than some of the forms who require you to put in all your information. Meanwhile, I'm not in front of my car to tell my mileage or anything else. I have to then go out to my car and I'm at work. Like, those are the types of things that I think make it really difficult to schedule. So I really focus on how to make that process more better, but unfortunately I won't have great advice for you on a vendor or which one to trade off.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to get to two super quick questions, and I'm sorry everyone else, we're not going to be able to get to your questions today, but I do have to let Peter go at some point. I know I'd like to keep him all day too, but two super quick answers from you, Peter. First one comes to you from Andy. Andy says, does a video highlighting features that are not yet in the USA help or hinder? I think it's good to show people what's coming, but I also see where it could cause problems. Your advice, Peter?
Yeah, and that's a fair question. Absolutely a fair question. I think it helps because I think it spurs encourages redefining process. It encourages creativity and thinking. If it puts pressure on anyone, your dealerships or OEMs or anybody, I think in a way that's a good thing because we want to continue to improve and innovate. I know it's hard and challenging sometimes because you might not have full control over those processes. Maybe there's legal issues or compliance issues that won't allow you to mirror something exactly. But if nothing else, I think it's always great to see examples out, from anywhere that's doing something differently or challenging sort of the norm, if you will. And so, I hope that you found it beneficial as well.
Okay, great. And yes or no question coming to you from Elmer. Elmer says, great info today. Thank you so much, Peter. Are there plans for a dealer Jumpstart team outside of the U.S., in Europe, for example? Do you have any inside information, Peter?
No, fair enough. We are building out teams today who are trying to absolutely support our friends overseas. You will continue to see, teams out there, and yes, there is already support in those areas. So if you are overseas and looking for support, I can do my best to put you in contact with a couple of people. But to be honest and to manage expectations, the support there is more limited to OEM-facing dealer support versus dealer-to-dealer today. So I just want to manage those expectations. Obviously, at Google, we're a relatively young company trying to catch up with the auto industry in terms of our ability to support it. We're starting here in the U.S. with a little bit more support, including the ability to do webinars like this. But I'm never afraid to ask and to try to put you in touch with people who could help you. So please let me know.
Thank you so much. And Peter, thank you so much. I love webinaring with you. You're a fantastic presenter, and you always come up with the best information to share. And audience, I hope you agree, because we're going to be sending out a survey in a little bit, and when we do, I really, really hope that you'll participate in it and let Peter and I both know how you liked today's presentation and the information that was presented, and give us any feedback you can. Of course, it's always important. And we're going to be randomly selecting a couple of people from those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So that's your chance to win yet and again another prize, all right? I want to let you know, yes, this webinar was recorded. I'm going to be sending you the link within 24 hours. And you can also view it online. Just go to dealeron.com/webinars and click on the link on the right-hand side for on-demand webinars. And while you're on that page, you can also access any of our past webinars, and you can also view and register for some of our upcoming webinars too. And yeah, I want to let you know Dealeron is so excited for our involvement at the upcoming Dealer Think Tank in Washington, D.C. next Thursday, August 14th. And if you haven't heard about them, well, let me tell you, they got these really great, fun-filled education workshops, and they educate everyone from the greenest of the green to the most seasoned industry veteran. You don't want to miss it. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, well, I put a exclusive discount code on the screen right now. So if you're going to register, do it now and use that discount code. You're going to get yourself 50% off the ticket price. And I want to let you know I did give out one free ticket. Today was the last time I was giving out a free ticket. It went to Patrick Downs. So congratulations, and I hope you guys have a great time at the Dealer Think Tank next Thursday. All right, I want to let you know also, invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next webinar, Engagement Strategies to Drive More Business Than Ever Before. Consumer satisfaction is so imperative in today's culture that a company's true success is in direct proportion to their level of customer loyalty. And smart dealers know how to build loyalty today. An emotional connection must be established with each customer. And by taking control of their reputation and focusing on improving online reviews and social media, the most successful dealers have doubled or even tripled their business. So setting reputation goals, building employee engagement, and leveraging their positive reputation have delivered swift and tangible results for both the dealership and its employees. Do you want to learn how to do that? Well, in this spectacular one-hour presentation, Ryan Leslie from Dealer Radar will show how dealers can capitalize on their reputation by endorsing a review-based culture across the sales and service departments. Attendees will also learn proven techniques to engage with more consumers and drive more business than ever before. So if you want to learn the proven engagement strategies that drive relationships, reviews, and loyalty, well, then this is a webinar you just can't afford to miss. So don't forget, Dealeron's weekly webinars are held every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. And we've got some awesome webinar subjects planned for this year. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, hey, contact me directly. I love hearing from you. My name is Eliana Raggio. You can track me down online. I'm everywhere. I'm on Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and I'm on all the automotive social networks. Or you can email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on a future webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a good one. Trying to get out of here, Peter, are you?
I'm so sorry, I'm getting kicked out of my room here, but thank you guys very much for your time. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Eliana.
All right, thank you so much, Peter.